Family Guy and American Dad are both animated sitcoms created by Seth MacFarlane. They're made by the same studio, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they were both made by the same studio. And they have been relatively very popular for a long time now. Family Guy is more popular, but which of these two series is actually better? Well, let's get right into it. Family Guy follows the dysfunctional Griffin family. We all basically know them: Peter, Lois, Meg, Chris, Stewie, and then there's Brian. Brian is definitely the weirdest character out of the bunch for reasons that I don't think I have to explain.
Sorry, I thought I smelled cookies.
And they basically live in a fictional town, Quahog, Rhode Island. Basically, nobody knows about Rhode Island. So if I didn't know about this show, honestly, I would have thought that Quahog, Rhode Island would have been a real place. Each episode typically consists of several different storylines, often featuring cutaway gags and pop culture references. There's pretty much a reference to everything within modern culture and current events in this show. They even have a JoJo reference.
Hey, you want to end the show with a to be continued meme? I don't even know what that...
American Dad centers around the Smith family, which includes the father, who's a CIA agent. His name is Stan, and then his wife Francine, and there's also the kids, Haley and Steve, and then there's a talking goldfish, Klaus, and Klaus is cool, but he's definitely no Brian. And my theory is, they were like, yeah, Klaus is cool, but he's not a Brian. He's not as weird as a Brian. So how do we even top that? And then that's where an alien who basically became a part of the family. And whenever he goes out, he basically has to dress up and act like he's a human.
Steve, here he comes. Take that, sir. Behold, a grown man weeping like...
That? That was your plan?
The animation style of Family Guy is influenced by several different cartoons and classic shows such as Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, and then there's also modern shows like South Park, Simpsons. It's definitely unique, but in general you can tell that it does have some inspirations from different shows. The thing about Family Guy is that in the very first season, you can tell they were trying to still figure out the show, still figure out the direction that they wanted to go in, but then at some point they kind of settled down on something, and that's basically the Family Guy that we know of today. So if you watch the current episodes, it's very, very consistent. Like, you basically know what to expect when you're going in. As to like when you watch the first season, each episode is kind of like very, very different. They're not all the same because you can tell they were still trying to figure out, okay, how is this show gonna go?
Ew, I remember this. Peter's eye did that weird creepy thing where it went over his nose.
Come on, you're worrying about nothing.
Family Guy aired in 1999, and then American Dad came out in 2005. So Family Guy did air for some odd years before American Dad came into the picture. So with Family Guy, they basically had a good idea of how to do these type of shows. So unlike Family Guy, where the first season is very different from basically all of the other seasons, American Dad has been pretty consistent throughout because the studio had an idea of how to animate these characters, you know, how to give them personalities and whatnot. So it is pretty consistent, and American Dad mirrors Family Guy very consistently as well. They're animated the very same way, and they basically have the same family structure, similar house. They both focus on the idea of family being very important while being very dysfunctional at the same time. So the biggest difference between Family Guy and American Dad is that Family Guy is a lot more fast-paced and uses more witty humor, and they always reference social culture and modern day things, whereas in American Dad, it mainly focuses on the actual conservative values, and it also focuses on the actual plot of the series itself. Family Guy focuses a lot more on modern day things and social references, whereas American Dad doesn't really do that. I can't even think of a single time in which American Dad brought up someone that existed in real life. I really don't even know if that happens at all. So really, that's the biggest difference. American Dad focuses on more political values, which, you know, is relevant to that storyline, but it doesn't really bring it up in a way that is relevant to real life or modern times. So which of these two series is better? Well, it depends. So if you like the jokes that Family Guy has to offer, like for example the whole Quagmire thing, and then there's also how they make fun of Meg, and then there's also all of the social references. So if you like comedy in that way, then you would like Family Guy better. But American Dad actually focuses on the plot itself. It stays on the plot and it basically sticks to that. It doesn't really go off of that lane. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Until we meet again, thanks for watching.